Dave from the Redneck Garage. Well, I'm out here in the garage and I'm working on all kinds of little stuff. I mean, and some of it's detailed and some of it's just a pain in the butt. Let me tell you. So today I've got a couple different things on the video I was going to show you. Soldering, there's a plastic polish that I promised that I would put up a video on. I guess we're going to call it Grab Bag Saturday. I wanted to gaze above my door in the garage. Grayson, my Milwaukee rep, said, hey, you need a banner. So he gave me a Milwaukee banner, so that was super cool. When you walk through the Milwaukee door in the Milwaukee corner, you kind of get that feeling. Anyway, you get the idea. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and start looking at some of the videos that I've shot that aren't quite big enough for a long video, but they're super cool and very worthy to be watched in a shorter time frame. I thought today that we would do a quick little video on polishing plastic. Now, I've got my speedometer assembly that I've already reset electronically to 0 miles, which is super cool. And I'm going to polish the plastic out because it's got some scratches and some scuffs and everything else on it. Now, to polish plastic, you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need some polishing compound. Now, I like two different ones. This is Meguiar's Plastic X, and this is Mother's Plastic Polish. Boy, that's original. This one is a little more gritty, so it'll cut a little bit better on the plastic, and this one is a little bit better, smoother for polishing out. Now, you don't have to have a buffer, but if you have one, you can use just a foam pad on like a mini buffer. Big ones would be probably too big, but a Milwaukee buffer is really good. Can you imagine I would say that? But I use my little electric Milwaukee buffer for these, and it works great. It's got a foam pad on it. You can just use the little foam pads, and those work well. You just have to swirl it on the finish with that, because you're not really cutting that much off the plastic. You're mostly polishing. And then the last thing you're going to need is some microfine towels. They don't leave a lot of lint. They're very, very soft. They won't scratch the plastic. So these are great for being able to polish off any existing residue or something like that. So let's take a look at polishing out the plastic. Alright, first thing we're going to do is take this apart and wash it really well with some mild dish detergent. You can see the clips. You basically just push those in, take the plastic off. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's pretty scratched up and weathered, so we're going to clean it up and then we're going to be polishing it. Okay, the first thing I'll do is get the Meguiar's Plastic X, and I'll put it on the plastic here, and I'll just put a little bit, and I'll take my buffer and I'll buff it out, and that'll get most of the scratches and things out. Now, you're not trying to kill it with a buffing. You know, it's plastic, so it doesn't take a lot to buff it out. You're just going to go over the whole surface with it pretty well. Alright, after I get that on, it looks good. I'm going to put a little Mother's on it. I'm just going to do some final sanding, maybe a little bit faster RPMs. And this seems to be a little bit oilier. Okay, so that looks really good. I'm going to use some real mild dishwashing detergent and wash it off real well, and then we'll see if we need to do any more additional buffing, but it should be pretty nice. Okay, and I'll take one of the clean microfiber towels and start drying it off, and we'll see if we got any places we need to hit again, but it should be good. And there you go. It looks really, really good. You want to make sure you get everything off the inside. The outside, you know, whatever, you can wipe it down later, but on the inside, you don't have to be taking it off and putting it on, taking it off. And there you go. Looks like brand new. Looks great. And if you remember, this is the one that we reset to 0, so when we put it in the truck and fire it up for the first time, it'll show 0 miles. Everything isn't work at the Redneck Garage, though. Randy came up with some tickets for the Predators game because he's a great friend, and he said, hey, you want to go? And I said, heck yeah. So we went, and we watched the Colorado Avalanche, and we lost, which was terrible. Predators, I don't know what you're doing. However, in between the second period and the third period, we got on TV. And if you look in the right corner of the video screen, you'll see my big old head and Randy's head as we were going to get a Jackalope beer.
A huge advantage in shots, but Not on the big scoreboard. Exactly. Mark. And we said early in that period that Nashville was playing a much, much better port checking system.
Here's the difference between a northern Jeep and a southern Jeep. This one's all rusted up and the bolts are broken off, and this is one that came off of the tub from the south and there's absolutely no rust on it. So this is the one we're going to be using. Awesome. Alright, so it's got a tailgate, got new tailgate hinges on it. Needs to be cleaned up a little bit. We still have the armor to put on the back, but now it's got a tailgate, so I'm happy about that. Awesome! Okay, so I'm working on this wiring harness, and I thought I would give you just a quick primer on soldering, how to do it on these wiring harnesses, and it's coming out really nice. I'll just pick one of these wires, and I'm going to correspond it with the appropriate one on both of the things. So basically we're connecting an old harness with the new harness by using these 3 plugs. This is for one side of the radio and this is the other. Okay, so we got that. You're going to need a couple things. You're going to need some heat shrink tubing. Alright, so that's the first thing that we need. I'm going to cut off a pretty good piece, about like that, and let's just pick a blue wire. And just slide your heat shrink tubing all the way down to the other end. Now I like to get about 1/2 inch, roughly, about that much on the ends, and it should be blue to blue. Blue power antenna, blue power antenna, which we probably don't need to hook up, but what the heck, I'll go ahead and hook it up anyway. That way we won't have a spare wire. Now, how I like to do mine is an X shape. The way that I like to do my solders is an X shape. I basically go here and wrap one side down the bottom, the other side around the top, and just twist it really well. Okay. And you can see when you do it this way, it makes a long, thin twist rather than a big lumpy one, like if you did it end and then just flipped it over. Now I use a big soldering gun for this, a 100-watt one, because I'm trying to heat this wire up pretty quick. If you were doing a circuit board or something, this gun would be way too big. But for this kind of stuff, it's great. So I'm just going to let it sit on there for just a minute until it gets hot. And you can tell when it's hot enough because their solder will start to melt. Now this is a 6040 solder used for electric. You can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's or anywhere like that. And it's almost warm enough. And I get all the way to both ends. And that should be good. Let it cool for a minute and then we're going to shrink our heat shrink. You can tell from doing it twisted like I did it, this is a long, thin solder rather than the other side. If you twisted both ends and then did it, you'd have a big lump. This works really well for wiring like this where there's a lot of wires together, because it doesn't create any bulges, you can see. And then we'll take our heat gun and just heat it up. Now I'll finish the rest of them, but you can see what a neat harness it makes when you solder all your wires the same way like that, that there's no big lumps or anything. So that's the way I like doing it. It looks very professional. Now I'm all done with my little harness and I put a little friction tape on it and it looks unbelievably awesome. And you can see when you solder the wires long ways like I did, it doesn't create a real big bulk. It looks pretty nice and neat rather than this big wad. And that's awesome. It's ready to go in. So that's what we got going on. The next couple videos are going to be, let's see, I got to get the gas tank prepped, ready to put it in. I've got an auxiliary fuel line. The return line needs to be replaced. We need to finish up the lift kit in the rear. Got the tailgate on, so that's super cool. So we're moving right along with the Jeep. I'm hoping to have it running here pretty soon. That will be a beautiful day. So that's what my goal is. I'm going to keep on keeping on. I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.